Hey everybody, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all of the latest news from the world of movies, plus a little bit of insight into what it all means. Leading off the show today is AMC Movie News production manager, Dennis Zen.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of AMC Movie Talk. Me and John forgot to mention yesterday that we are going to have a Movie Talk meetup at Comic-Con. It'll be Friday. I think that's the 10th. We'll have it in the evening. We haven't set exact time or place yet, but if you're interested in finding out, we'll let you guys know in the next few episodes.
Also, here's AMC's Christian Harloff.
Everything Dennis said is absolutely true. It's true.
Also, here's AMC's Mark Ellis.
Yeah, and don't worry, we'll be talking movies today, Dennis, so no theater or stand-up comedy discussion. We know how you hate those art forms.
Got you covered. Here we go. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Marvel Studios head Kevin Feige was asked how close they were to locking down directors for both Black Panther and Captain Marvel. Feige responded by saying this: "I think by the end of summer, we'll have most of those things, Black Panther especially." When asked about recent rumors of Selma director Ava DuVernay being considered for Black Panther, Feige admitted, "We've met with her for sure. We've met with a number of people for a number of movies. She has been one of them." Dennis, what do you think about Ava DuVernay possibly directing Black Panther?
I think it would be great. Selma was one of my favorite movies last year. I think she did a great job with it. I thought she deserved an Oscar nomination for it. She didn't get it. But she could, for me, it's she doesn't have to just be up for Black Panther. She could do Captain Marvel. She could do Inhuman. She could do Iron Man 4, or whatever the hell, else she can do. She's a fantastic director. For me, this is an issue because, people who watch the show, know that I'm critical about roles that are originally for minorities that get cast with like white actors, and people give me crap for that, but I don't care because that's what I believe. But it has a lot to do with representation and about seeing your visual representation. But in terms of directors, though, I kind of have a different opinion of that, because I do feel like there should be more female and more minority directors. However, it's not the same thing as having an actor. So I don't feel like you have to hire a Black director for Black Panther. It's like Selma was fantastic. Ava DuVernay did a fantastic job with it, but you could have had a white director do it as well. It would be a different movie and a different perspective, and it wouldn't have her perspective, but it could have been just as good. It's like something like Martin Scorsese. He did Kundun, about the Tibetans and the Dalai Lama. He did a fantastic job with that. You didn't have to have a Tibetan director to do that. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'm excited about it. I think it's going to happen. I think it's probably the right choice, because good storytellers are good storytellers regardless of what film they're doing. And when you look at the recent history of somebody like a Gareth Edwards or a Colin Trevorrow going from a smaller film into a big blockbuster, it's worked pretty well. And Selma is by no means just this tiny film that she did. There's a lot of pressure when you're telling a true story that happened fairly recently based on an iconic figure like Martin Luther King. You have to knock that out of the park or it's going to be horrific. And she did that. So I think she'd be a great choice. I think this is a lot more of a slam dunk than whoever they're talking about for Captain Marvel right now, which includes Angelina Jolie, who I'd be less sold on doing her doing Captain Marvel. I'd be less sold on, I think, than Ava DuVernay doing Black Panther. It seems like the right fit to me.
It's a no-brainer. You lock her up for something. And Dennis, even though I agree with a lot with what you're saying, but the difference is here, these are the only properties that are really available right now are Captain Marvel and Black Panther, because even so, you can make the same argument with if she gets Captain Marvel, it's, well, they're just having her because she's a woman. Yeah. Or because of Black Panther, they're just doing it because she's a black woman. What she does really well, and what we've seen so far just with Selma, she does really strong characters. She really knows how to make movies about strong Black characters. She's a strong Black woman as well too. So she can do a movie about a strong lead female. She can do this movie Black Panther. I want to see what she does too, because even though Black Panther is the lead, it's going to be a majority of white actors. It's going to be a majority in wherever world he's coming into. We don't know where it's going to take place. I know a lot of it takes place in Africa as well too. So to see what she's doing there, I'm very excited. The possibility of her, she's just such an amazing filmmaker. I agree with you 100%. She should have been nominated for Selma. So I think that her name's been floated around so much that Kevin Feige is really smart in how he announces things too. He's like, and he didn't lie. He was like, yeah, we've been talking for sure. But he's not going to tell you anything's locked in until it's locked in. So I think that this is definitely going to happen down the line, and it should.
Well, he also mentioned in that same interview that we're looking to expand the diversity in terms of the directors, but he also said he was going to get the best director for that role. And what my point is that she could direct something else as well in Humans. I'm not saying that that's going to be the case, but Inhumans doesn't have a director, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but I think that comes out like 2019 or something.
Obviously.
So out of the ones that are the closest, those two, either one I think she'd be perfect for. But what Marvel just does really well is they've been casting great actors, they've been casting great directors, and they're following the model of we make properties that we want to be respected.
Yeah, I mean, this proves this is not like a Rooney Rule situation. I think that they really want her to do a Marvel movie. I think it will be Black Panther. But, you see all the time with actors, they meet for a role, then they end up, we actually want you to read for this role instead, and it ends up working out that way. I just think for this particular scenario, she's a no-brainer to do Black Panther.
Okay. All right. What's next?
The Wrap is reporting that director Seth Gordon has left the Uncharted video game movie adaptation. Uncharted is a hugely popular video game franchise that centers around treasure hunter Nathan Drake and his fortune-seeking adventures. According to The Wrap, new Sony studio head Tom Rothman wanted to take the project in a new direction, which led to Gordon leaving the project. The adaptation has gone through many screenwriters, and even Oscar-nominated director David O. Russell was attached at one point. Christian, what do you think about Seth Gordon leaving Uncharted?
I like it. I like that he's leaving. I think it's a good move, and I think that I don't know what the new Sony head's doing. We'll find out if this is a good move, but was not a huge fan of Identity Thief. Actually hated it. Horrible Bosses 1 was okay, and Four Christmases was garbage. So
yes, it was
garbage.
Yes, it was. So
the fact that they were bringing in a new take, and from this guy's history, I don't know what the real scenario is. I'm just making make-up ones in my head. But what I'm thinking is, as far as, because Nathan Drake does have a comedy background from what we've seen in the video games, is that we're going to get too heavy on the comedy here when it needs to be an Indiana Jones type movie with a lot of sense of humor in it. So I'm okay with him leaving, because I was never a big fan of him being brought on as director. So let's see who they bring in next, and then we can start speculating if we like that or not next.
Mark,
was that the face that the Sony chief made when he heard that he was doing the movie?
Yeah.
It's not a winning smile necessarily. Yeah, sure. I mean, I think they hire him because the same reason that because they're going after the Russo brothers model, because those guys came from a comedy background too, and now they can make an action movie. So maybe this would work for him, especially when you have a lead character who has a lot of one-liners, a lot of quips. But I agree with Christian. The track record just simply isn't good enough. I really enjoyed Horrible Bosses. I thought it had more potential than it showed, and you're right. Four Christmases was like, it's not just a bad movie. That was like a horrible theater. That might have ruined my entire December. There was a cloud over it, and it was because of Four Christmases. So yeah, I think this is the right call. And I like when somebody who comes in to a new situation is like, you know what? I see that we have these people in place, but I don't like that. Uncharted is a huge property. It could be mammoth for Sony and video game films in general. So if you don't believe in this guy 100%, it's time to find somebody new.
What's the deal with all these big video game franchises having trouble getting off the ground? We had Halo, BioShock, Mass Effect, and then Assassin's Creed. We're hoping to see, eventually. I mean, we do have Warcraft next year, which hopefully will be really good. But yeah, all these big video game franchises for now are having a lot of trouble, even if they're the big ones.
You know why that is, though? Because people are scared to death, because everyone's talking about how it could be the next big boom, like comic book movies. And
I think it will be.
And that's why everyone's like, let's see what Warcraft does.
Once we get a movie made,
Yeah, because Uncharted, you can't screw up Uncharted. And I think this new guy at Sony knows that. Amy Pascal doesn't have the best track record with franchises over the last couple of years. Brings this guy in, and now we need to make sure that these video game movies work if you want to further the genre. And look, he might have done a great job. I don't know, but like Mark said too, with track record, let's put somebody else in.
Especially with fans of video games being so fervent and the way that they can complain about stuff online. You need to knock it out of the park, or else you're going to hear about it even a lot more than you did when somebody made Tomb Raider, and certainly in the 90s when they made horrible movies like Super Mario Brothers or Mortal Kombat Annihilation. We all know the first Mortal Kombat
was
an
awesome.
Oscar-winning film.
Yeah, that was
but
awesome.
The second one, horrendous.
Well, for the director, I mean, it's a tough act to follow. He was supposed to. David O. Russell was supposed to direct it, and he doesn't have the pedigree that David O. Russell does. Though David O. Russell wanted Mark Wahlberg as Nathan Drake, and then I think someone had asked him on the red carpet, "Oh, what about Nathan Fillion?" And he's like, who? He had no idea who it was.
And he punched him in the face.
Yeah.
But I would have liked to see Nathan Fillion and David O. Russell do this movie, but
Fillion's a little too old though at this point.
yeah,
I
at
think,
this
like,
point,
you know,
he's too old for a lot of
Right.
stuff that originally they could have cast him in. But
I know that the name's floated out there, but if Chris Pratt fits anything, it's Nathan Drake. I mean, he is Nathan Drake. If you look, everything that he does is Nathan Drake.
You're right, but if you're Chris Pratt and you're given the choice to do Indiana Jones versus Uncharted, I think you got to go with Jones.
I don't know though. Would you though? Because if you think about
Yeah.
it, because Nathan Drake hasn't been proven on screen yet, as where those shoes are so big to fill as Indiana Jones. Even though yes, it's an iconic character, you have the possibility as Chris Pratt to turn Nathan Drake into an iconic character, not just in the video game world, but into cinema. I think that that's attractive for a guy of Chris Pratt's status now, who now has the biggest opening weekend of all time. But that also might hurt him in the fact that, that's just the dinosaur guy now as opposed to Nathan Drake.
Hey, that guy that trained raptors in the
Right.
video game
Yeah.
movie.
all right, what's next?
Going on to buy or sell, 7 new Ant-Man character posters have debuted on Entertainment Weekly. This time, instead of relying on the popular Avengers characters, these feature the cast members from the movie. Actors Paul Rudd, Michael Douglas, Evangeline Lilly, Corey Stoll, Michael Pena, T.I., and Bobby Cannavale are all featured in individual posters. Ant-Man hits AMC theaters on July 17th. Mark, buy or sell these new Ant-Man posters?
I sell the majority of the posters. I think the Paul Rudd one looks cool. I think everyone else you can kind of get rid of. I don't need it at all. I don't think you're going to see these posters in theaters. I think this might just be one of the marketing ploys to separate Ant-Man and prove that it's its own film with an ensemble cast, not just one superhero who they're eventually going to try to wedge into the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But the posters just don't look that good, to be honest with you. It just looks like a quick Photoshop, with the exception of the Paul Rudd one. I would see that at a movie theater and I'd be like, oh yeah, that looks like an interesting movie. Everyone else, I sell completely.
Yeah, I sell these big time. They look terrible. I mean, I really like the ones with the Avengers. I thought it was really smart marketing, showing the Avengers and tying that into Ant-Man, and they actually looked cool. These look terrible. I thought they were fan made. When I first saw them, I was like, these are fan, and they just, the poses, the Photoshop. Look at the Michael Pena one. It's terrible. I mean, we could all do an Ant-Man poster, like just pose, hey, right here. You know, I don't know. I think they're horrible.
I sell the look, but I buy the intent because of the characters in general. Like each character signifies what they do in the movie. Like if you look, that's where Evangeline Lilly's like is just kind of annoyed with him and ready to flick him off. Corey still wants to crush him. He's on Michael Douglas's shoulder, like it hits his mentor. T.I. is his buddy in crime. Michael Pena's his buddy in crime, and then you have he's Bobby Cannavale. There's a reasoning behind all of it, so I buy the intent, but it does look like someone was drunk and just did Photoshop.
Yeah.
Subtext. Well, or you're sober, you're just not good at Photoshop. Like I think I could have pulled that. I could have gotten pretty close to making these, and that's not a good thing.
No.
All right, what's next?
With Furious 7 crossing the 1.5 billion mark globally, Universal is already planning for the next film for release in 2017, and it looks like one actor from Furious 7 is happy to be back for the next movie in the franchise. In an interview with Access Hollywood, Jason Statham revealed that he would be indeed returning as Deckard Shaw and said the following: "We're already talking about doing another one, Part 8. I'm a newcomer. I just got invited to the party in this last one, so it's nice to know I'm going to be doing another." Fast and Furious 8 is set for an April 14, 2017 release. Dennis, buy or sell Jason Statham returning for the next Fast and Furious movie?
I buy it because for me, he's the best villain I've seen in the Fast and Furious franchise. Luke Evans was decent. I liked him in, what was that, 6? But for me, this guy, like, he was more memorable. He was this one-man army that was hell-bent on getting revenge on Dom and his crew. I mean, they show it in the opening sequence at the hospital, which for me set the tone of the movie and set the tone of his character, which was that he was kind of over the top. Like he was just like this guy that was gonna kind of tongue in cheek, like he was gonna take them down no matter what. What do you think, Christian?
I'll buy it. You know, I could kick you in the face from here on. You know me. I love that he's coming back, and even though he was like a super villain in the movie, we've gotten to the place that each Furious movie gets more ridiculous. I want to see him team up with his brother. It seems like that could be the case, and I want to see The Rock and Vin Diesel now become that partnership that will now fill the void of
Paul Walker.
Thank you. Couldn't get the word out. But to see those guys together will be a lot of fun to go that team versus that team and have Statham back. Statham's always vicious and he's smart, man. Of course he's going to come back. You got Expendables is starting to fart out, and now you have this one, which is now a big franchise, a big action, is the big action franchise. He's smart.
That's actually the name of Expendables 4.
Fart
Expendables 4. Fart out.
Who did that? Was that you?
Statham is awesome. I love watching Statham as a hero or a villain. Look, this franchise before has taken somebody that you're rooting against in the movie and made them somebody that you actually care about and want them to team up with everyone else. So Statham has a lot of things he can do with the future of this franchise, and he's a big name. Luke Evans is great, but he's not selling tickets the way that Jason Statham would, especially if you have The Rock going against Jason Statham or Vin Diesel going against Jason Statham. So yeah, bring it on. It's awesome. I'm not sure if he was supposed to say that stuff yet, but anytime Jason Statham's talking, who's going to tell him to shut up? Like, oh, we don't want you to give that information away yet.
No, you shut up.
That's exactly what you get.
Well, you brought up a good point, because in the last one, you see Jason Statham like in these fight scenes with The Rock and everyone else, and Luke Evans, I'm sure he can do some action as well, but he can't do it as well as Jason Statham. So that's a great reason to bring him back.
That Statham and Rock fight at the beginning.
Yeah.
I want to see that rematch.
Yeah, but when you open up and he's already murdered like 500 Navy SEALs, I thought it was the beginning of a Naked Gun movie, to be honest with you. But then after that, you settle in and you have fun with the movie.
All right, what's next?
The first trailer for Sleeping with Other People, starring Jason Sudeikis and Alison Brie, has been released. The movie is about two former hookups who run into each other after 12 years and decide to be just friends. However, their growing mutual attraction to each other makes it difficult to keep that decision. The film is being directed by Leslie Headland, who directed 2012's Bachelorette. Sleeping with Other People comes to AMC theaters on August 21st, 2015. Christian, buy or sell this trailer for Sleeping with Other People?
I could dig it. Buy. I'm going to buy it. I liked it. I think that it looks like a better version of Friends with Benefits, and the other one that came out the same.
No Strings Attached.
No Strings Attached. It looks, although I didn't mind No Strings Attached.
That was really funny.
Yeah, but this movie looks exactly what those little what the little critics blurbs were, is the fact that you go for the sex jokes, but you leave with the heart, and you stay for the heart, and that you can feel it. And I want to see Jason Sudeikis do more of that stuff, because I'm a big fan of his, but and I was shocked that he annoyed the hell out of me in Horrible Bosses 2, because he wasn't real. It was just shtick, joke. And I was like, no, I know that this guy can do a lot more, and this is the movie that it looks like he can. So I like where they're going with this. I think that it gives him the opportunity to show his chops. So because of that, I buy it.
Mark?
Of course you're going to buy it. It's the story of 2006 Christian Harloff. Yeah, this looks like an interesting movie to me too, because again, it's a funny premise, and one that you're right, it does lead to a lot of adult humor, and the jokes that they throw in the trailer are really funny. And there's some scenes I didn't need to see all that stuff in the trailer. You could have sold me without that birthday party scene. That would have been a fun surprise in the movie, but that's fine. Jason Sudeikis, I think, is a star. He's a comedy star. He was Horrible Bosses 2. I don't pin on him. I pin more the way that character had to go. He didn't have a lot of room to operate. Here, he gets to be a little dramatic as well. So I'm totally going to buy this movie.
I'm going to buy it as well. I really like this trailer. I think the chemistry between Sudeikis and Alison Brie, who I both like, is very evident in it. And like you were talking about, yeah, they're mentioning like the sex jokes and stuff, but I think there's going to be something more to it. It has something more to say than just the comedy. I mean, who hasn't run into an ex-girlfriend or seen an ex-girlfriend where there's still a mutual attraction to that person, but whether or not that's actually you're going to do something about it or not. So I'm really looking forward to this.
It does seem a little cookie cutter, I'll be honest. It does, but it's a really delicious cookie. Like you're right, we've seen this movie before, but it's one that you should see every so often. And if you can get a little bit of heart, fine. I don't need that crap. Just make me laugh a lot. It seems like it's gonna have both.
Because it looks like it's gonna sell you on like you said, Dennis, the chemistry between these two. That's why you go to any one of these movies that have been done a bunch of times. It's because if they're going to be done in a new way with new actors that you care about, and these two haven't done that kind of movie yet. And the other movie that Sudeikis did with Jennifer Aniston,
We're the Millers,
he was really good in that too, because there was more of a goofy comedy, but there were moments to where he wasn't just he could play the straight character as well too, and that's why I think you're going to go there, because you've seen it before, but you're going to leave going, that's Sudeikis. He's got something.
I did think it was weird
That
that
old man.
That's Sudekis.
That's Sudekis. He
Yeah.
made me laugh.
He's got chops, Nancy.
That movie didn't fart out at all.
Not farted out this time. That was me after the salad.
Did you recognize the actor? I forgot his name, but he's in The League, Rafi.
Oh,
He's
right.
in
Oh,
this.
yeah,
It was
The
weird
League, yeah.
seeing him playing a normal character.
Well, for now.
From the trailer, he looked normal
Yeah.
because we've used to seeing him do all crazy and
Yeah.
stuff like that. All right, guys. Now on to the mailbag section where you can send in your questions to us at amcmovietalk@gmail.com, and we'll pick out a few. Ashley, what do we got?
Raymundo writes, hello, AMC crew. Silly question. How do directors get famous? I understand actors and actresses getting famous because we can see them, but the major moving-going audience never really sees the director, nor do they think about them. So how does a director or even a producer get famous to where people get excited for their movies?
Mark?
Was that question from Ray on our staff? Was that?
That's his club
Ray.
name.
What are you doing?
Raymundo.
And when he's spinning at the local hide,
Yeah.
that's Ray.
Now everybody, Raymundo with his pop dolls and his funky
And I love. Where are you going with that?
Photoshop.
I'd stick with the grandpa.
Yeah.
I think that directors, and I think you boys will probably agree with me here, is that I respect Raymondo's question, but I think you do think about the director a lot when you're talking about a movie. You watch it, and sometimes the director can be even the star of a movie. It's why you go see a picture. Now, again, they're not in front of the camera. There's only a handful of directors you actually recognize on the street. Like, hey, that's Steven Spielberg, or that's George Lucas, or that's like, I'm not sure. If Gareth Edwards walked right by me, I wouldn't know who he was. I don't know that if I saw Josh Trank, I might, from the behavior, guess it's Josh Trank, but I don't know that I'd recognize a lot of them, but you definitely feel their stamp on a film. They get famous because you see the name. You see the name, and you look at a resume and you're like, oh, they've done this movie, this movie, this movie. Now I want to go see that movie simply because they did it.
I think it has to do with the quality of their work and also their personalities. Because there's, back in, pre-internet age, it was, you only knew the big ones, right? Spielberg,
Coppola.
Alfred Hitchcock, Coppola, Lucas. But now with the internet, everyone can see these guys. And, someone like a Martin Scorsese or Quentin Tarantino, they have the quality of work, plus they have the personality. If you see them on camera, they're just like always talking. They're animated. They're saying all this stuff. And some directors aren't like that. So sometimes directors seek out to become a personality or to become famous, and it might help their career. And some are fine kind of, I know what Darren Aronofsky looks like, but most people don't. You talked about Gareth Edwards. I know what he looks like, but to the casual audience, those guys aren't really famous. Christian, what do you think?
It's all about the buzz, baby. It's all about the buzz. It's like when people are people sitting around and they're talking about these movies, like when you start out with Memento for Christopher Nolan, we all as film fans go, wow, that movie was awesome. But you're the casual person, be like, oh, yeah, I remember that was a cool movie. Who directed it? Christopher Nolan. Who?
Yeah.
And then you start to do more movies and then you get The Dark Knight and Batman, the guy who revitalized Batman. Because Nolan doesn't do a ton of interviews and out there so much. But first of all, he's the guy that rebooted and made Batman cool again. So that's how he got famous. And then he follows up Batman in The Dark Knight by doing Inception, which no one thought was going to be a big, huge movie coming in summer. It didn't seem like a summer movie. That crushes. So that's how it worked for him. Tarantino's another guy, was a studio darling and did something so unique. When you have that unique voice and people are talking about it all the time, Buzz creates stars.
Tarantino was great at getting in front of the camera and
Yeah,
really
he was.
selling Pulp
Personality,
Fiction, too.
what Dennis was saying.
Yeah.
And he's a personality, but it was his initial movies and his talent that got people talking. And so once people are like, well, who's that guy? I want to talk to that guy because of all these people talking. And then you work with certain stars, and the big stars are saying your name and talking about it and having good relationships. So it really is all about the buzz.
And Tarantino puts himself in his movies too, so he obviously is not. He's not trying to shy away from fame.
No.
Where Nolan, it was a good example of where it was unintentional, in my opinion, where it was like the quality of his work plus just like people, like you said, were saying his name, and then eventually he became this big thing. But I don't think he ever intended to be
Not
that way.
the way he is. No, he's a superstar guy. I mean, now look at Shyamalan.
Yeah.
Shyamalan, whatever you want to say, and just chuckles from Raymundo in the back there. But when you have Shyamalan in the beginning, it was that twist that everyone started talking about him, and then he hits. And it's also a matter of what have you done for me lately. If you hit 3 movies in a row, then everybody starts talking about you. And remember that cover of the magazine, the next Spielberg.
Yeah.
And you said to somebody now, they'd slap you in the nose. So it's
I don't think you can slap somebody in the nose.
for that.
No, but it's hard to. It's physically a hard feat to
I
pull
can
off.
try. You want me to do it?
Yeah,
No. Oh.
Slap you right now.
that was a pat. It was a
Oh, he
hard
still
pat.
slapped you in the nose.
Shyamalan's not Spielberg. next topic.
All right, next question.
Moving on. Garrett writes, hey guys, just wondering, what do you think is the hardest job in making a movie that doesn't get enough recognition? Thanks.
For me, this is a close tie between the screenwriter and the editor. The screenwriter, especially in movies, I think in television they get a lot more credit, but in movies, once they buy that script and you're not the director, they're out. They're just like, okay, you go over here and we're going to make the movie that we want to make. And unless they're a big name. And people, forget to thank them, and people don't give them the credit they deserve, because there's nothing like sitting in front of a computer with a blank screen and just going, okay, what am I going to do? It's one of the things that you need a lot of discipline for, and you don't see like results. When you're on set and you're shooting, it's like, oh man, that scene was great and all this stuff. And then editors, on the other hand, is at the tail end where you get all the footage and you have to put everything together. And I don't think people realize how much editing affects a movie. You can make like a good movie great, or you can make a mediocre movie pretty good if you edit it in a certain way, and those guys just don't get any credit whatsoever. What do you guys think?
I think editing might be one of the most crucial to the quality of the project, but I think the hardest thing to do on a set is just the physical labor that goes into constructing sets, and the crew guys that have to operate the cameras. The cinematographer is another one that, because it's such a tiny thing, just making sure everything's focused, making sure a shot is exactly lined up right. The time of day is such a factor as far as like what your shooting window is going to be. So I think that one, an editor and somebody's writing it, at least they can sit in an air-conditioned room and they can write. They can order a Little Caesars, have it delivered. But when you're out there working in a tough location or something like that, it's those union crew guys and girls that I think have the toughest job.
Question?
Best boy. No,
Key grip.
David O'Rissel's assistant. No. How about the composer? I say the composer. I know that a lot of times, movie fans and film buffs like us, we really recognize who these composers are, and a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't realize, like, even when James Horner had passed away, the hardcore film fans knew right away. Oh, Braveheart, Avatar, all these movies that he's done, Apollo 13. But I think a lot of the casual movie fans can recognize certain songs and scores, but you don't realize how instrumental it is and what you feel like just subconsciously, like what a music score really does for you when it's done right. When it's done wrong, it can suck you right out of a movie and right out of a scene. A lot of times, watch one of your favorite scenes with a good piece of music, replace it with something that doesn't fit. Or replace it with no music at all, and it will ruin the scene for you. A great scene, like even something like Usual Suspects, you put something terrible in there. Like, look at there's a lot of different examples that if you go and replace scores, how underappreciated I think composers are. And as much as we do love Marvel, I think one of the things that Marvel does wrong is that they just kind of replace a lot of their composers. They've been using Brian Tyler a lot, but they replace, like, Alan Silvestri's Avengers theme is incredible. You use it in pieces in Ultron because they don't just bring back the same composers over and over again for movies because I think it becomes more expensive. I think that that's a perfect case where these composers are underappreciated, how much they bring to a movie.
Well, I definitely agree with you, but I feel like there is more recognition for composers and for cinematographers than there are, especially for editors.
Totally, and you guys said that already.
Yeah, so yeah. All right, what's next?
George L. writes, in honor of John's last show yesterday, what is your favorite goodbye for an iconic character in a film or franchise?
Ooh,
Rocky 3, man. Mickey. Mickey. What was that? Stallone when he's crying. Mick. he's on the table. He's like, Mick, no. He's like, you do it good. It's the most sad scene. But Mickey was instrumental to making Rocky the champion that he was. And the way he went out, man, Clubber just pushed him against the rail. Damn, Clubber.
Mark?
You know it's not a documentary, right?
What?
Don't worry, guys.
Oh, so Burgess Meredith's alive?
Well, no, he's still dead.
Come on!
I'm going to go with Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade with all those guys riding off into the sunset. I hate when I see that movie on TV and they cut off the credits just because it's the credits. Seeing Sulla and Indy and Marcus and Indy Sr. all ride off together after this incredible journey they've been on. And at the time, we thought, oh, this might be the last time we ever see Indiana Jones riding off into the sunset. It is such a beautiful moment with the music music that you can't replace, the John Williams score. I can watch that entire credit reel. It's better than most other movies in general.
I mean, we just had the Furious 7 send off for Paul Walker and his character. E.T. I mean, when E.T. leaves Elliot and he raises his glowing finger and he's, I'll be right here to his head, like they really milk it. You know, they play the music up and it's like a 3-minute sequence and that's all that happens in it, but it's very iconic. Ashley, what's a scene that you can remember?
When I read this question, it made me think of my least favorite goodbye. People can talk about how much they hate this movie all they want, but I will sit here proudly and say I love The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I don't care what anyone says, but when Gwen Stacy died, I cried my eyes
Spoiler.
out. And spoiler, I guess if you haven't seen it, then too bad.
Oh, God.
You know, and
You
when
don't need to see
I
the
bet
movie,
you
I
if
guess.
she lived on, we would have had The Amazing Spider-Man 3 and Andrew Garfield. I will miss you forever as Spider-Man. And oh my gosh, that was just so sad. Didn't you guys cry?
Doesn't
Did
that make
feel
you
for it?
happy as a woman, though, that like your competition got knocked out? So
This
now
is
you
true.
can be with Andrew
This is
Garfield?
true. This is true.
See? Positive spin on things. That's the Mark Ellis difference.
All right, guys, that's it for today's show. I want to thank the people joining us today. Mark, where can people find you?
You can catch me slapping my nose on Twitter and on Instagram at 5150 Ellis. And this weekend, this Friday, I'm at the Comedy Store. Come.
Christian?
AMC Jedi Council. Today, we are going to, myself and Mark, and we're going to have John Roca on the show today. And we're talking about a lot of cool things, especially some leaked pictures that were out there. If you guys want to check that out, hashtag AMC Jedi Council. And check me out, Christian Arloff, Twitter and Instagram.
And Ashley, where can people
On
find
Twitter
you?
and on Instagram at Ashley Mova. Happy Thursday, guys.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero, on Instagram, Dennis.tzng, or on YouTube, ThinkHero Pro. And don't forget to subscribe to the AMC Theaters YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/AMC Theaters, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.